So the Crucible is about the town of Salem, Massachusetts during the Salem witch trials, which took place in the late 1600s. Over the course of the show, you'll see how the town of Salem is torn apart by lies and manipulation that took place during the witch trials. The lies and deception that you see in the Crucible were written into the show as an allegory for McCarthyism in the Cold War.
When the Crucible was written in 1953, McCarthyism was running very rampant across the United States. People were accusing their neighbors of being communists to hopefully land them in jail, which sounds very similar to the Crucible. Even Arthur Miller himself was held in contempt of Congress because he refused to give the names of writers who were believed to be communist sympathizers.
The Crucible is a really intense show because it deals with a lot of mature themes.
I would say the show is intense in the idea of how it discusses really heavy topics like sexism and racism in the 1600s in Salem.
The audience is left on edge for the majority of the show because there aren't really many happy moments between the characters because they are dealing with so many hardships in the search for love and trust.
And also just the level of hatred that some of these characters hold towards this idea of witchcraft and demons.
There's two sort of groups in the Crucible. There's the younger teenage girls and the other townspeople. My character Abigail is kind of connected with both of them. She ends up dividing them even further as she spins her webs of lies. The drama Abigail causes ends up revealing the dynamics between other characters.
I think that Reverend Hale is a sort of a mediator kind of character. He sees the two groups, and it's one against the other. They have their own beliefs, of course, but they're all thinking, this is witchcraft, this is witchcraft. But it isn't necessarily, and it feels like that Hale knows that, but the other groups don't.
John's complexity lies in his ability to forgive himself. In the beginning of the play, we see him struggling with forgiving himself. He's burdened with the guilt that he carries because of his affair with Abigail. However, over the course of the show, we see him accept his guilt and go on to be a better man through his own forgiveness.
I think the complexity of Mary is that throughout this whole play, she's struggling with the choices of what to make and whether to put herself first in front of Salem and save herself instead of the entirety of Salem, or if she should stick with the witches and accuse everyone just to save herself.
So the role of dance in the show is a little bit unusual, and we're kind of using it to elevate the story more. Like, for instance, the dancing in the woods at the beginning of the show, and we're using dance to kind of elevate the chaos, and as the music gets more chaotic, so does the movements.
One interesting thing that costumes do for our show is for our lead characters, Elizabeth Proctor, Abigail Williams, and John Proctor, and the dynamics between their color palettes and the costume.
They're Puritans, so they're wearing conservative clothing with long collars and long dresses. And it helps us understand the relationship between the characters because the teenagers, for example, are going to be in blue, and the older women are going to be in more of a reddish colors and browns.
So the plan for the set is that it's going to be a trifold with two fences on the side, and in the middle we're going to have 3 doorways covered in a cloth, and it's going to allow for a lot of silhouette work, which is super exciting.
Even though props aren't utilized that much in the show, I'm still doing my best to show what they really can symbolize. Even throughout all the trials, all the betrayal, we still have what it meant to be a town and how it's being ripped apart by superstition.
People should come see The Crucible because it's a very well-known work of literature.
Not only can you learn more about history, you can see it reenacted.
Purchasing tickets for The Crucible and coming to see it is a great way to support your peers who've worked really hard on it.